I mentioned a while back that what I'd consider the top 4 Dragon Ball villains, in no particular order, are Piccolo Daimao, Frieza, Cell, and Baby. And having gone over the reasons why for 3 of those, it would make sense to give Frieza the spotlight. But that's a video for a more appropriate time. For now, it's time to go over the other of DBZ's 3 most iconic villains, and, despite being far less engrossing than the other 2, how Majin Boo worked well as the ultimate threat for the original manga continuity. This is primarily due to something I've talked of with a few others in him serving as a parallel or dark reflection of Goku, much as Raditz, Vegeta, or the Saiyan trio in general, and Cell do in one or several ways, or Turles and Goku Black do in the most surface level way. While they do so in ways that show how Goku could be or be in the antithesis of his ideology, Majin Buu represents the reverse of Goku's journey and ties to Goku's meta-origins as an alternative take on Sun Wukong, to an extent stronger than such traits found in similar DBZ villains. One detail overlooked by many is our first physical introduction to Boo, in him being within a cocoon before emerging from it, due to the ki gathered from both Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and Goku in particular, with the ki of those in a Super Saiyan state producing light energy, or extreme yang in Taoism. Much as Sun Wukong was born from golden heavenly light touching the rock he was contained in. Said rock was also imbued with the energies of heaven and earth, or a perfect balance of yin and yang. Much as not only is the Super Saiyan state a balance of Saiyan subconscious yin with the outward display of yang, but much as the extreme yang fueling one who is hidden and asleep, which are attributes of yin symbolism. It's after Boo's revival that we see a few traits comparable between Boo and Goku. Boo's 3 main incarnations have a desire to fight strong opponents much like Goku, and also have a large appetite, though with Boo's being even greater and fueling himself with copious amounts of sweet foods, as opposed to Goku's more varied diet. Even their difference in appetite and diet alludes to Boo being even more naturally talented than Goku, but hindered by his own lack of discipline and the right Shugyo mindset. Another important comparison is in their manner of eating, with Goku being fine with eating food by natural means, and thereby living by the or in line with the Tao, whereas Majin Buu transfigures others into a form to fit his tastes. One lives by the laws of the universe, whereas the other tries to force creation to fit his will. Boo's unassuming appearance is also an overlooked similarity with Goku, who is often underestimated by his opponents, with both of these two ironically underestimating the other at different points. This extends not just to power, but perceptions of their intelligence, with the childish-looking innocent Boo being smarter than he appears, with him not taking long to figure out the flaw in Babidi's threat, as well as Goku having far more astute observations and ideas than some, especially those involved in his super characterization, seem to remember. Another important aspect of Boo's appearance and magic is how he obviously ties into Arabian folklore on jinns. Many may recall how Arabian imagery became prominent in the later chapters of the manga's first arc, in which the journey to the west reaches its destination. It makes things come almost full circle that, for the one arc planned as the manga's conclusion, and with many callbacks to prior events, that one to the west of the series' target audience journeys east, and that the one Kaioshin of his generation to survive Boo's first rampage without metaphysical changes was that of the East. But how this makes the series' Asian fantasy elements far more prominent than the Western science fiction aspects that had dominated the manga for over 200 chapters. It's when learning more of Boo's different consciousnesses that we see a further parallel between he and Goku. Whereas Goku was by nature a bloodthirsty Saiyan whose head injury and, more importantly, his Shugyo mindset implanted in him by his Ji-chan Gohan, and refined by later mentors that a Buddhist may say caused him to go from having a demon nature to a Buddha nature, Boo had the same path through Daikaioshin's Buddha nature changing him, and we are shown the reverse of this in that Buddha nature being gradually suppressed more until absent entirely with Boo's pure self. There's a further Sun Wukong tie with Pure Boo specifically, in him having challenged and bested the Kaioshin, much as Sun Wukong soloed almost the entire Taoist pantheon. Boo's pure self is also suggested to have even greater regeneration than his other incarnations, which ties him to Wukong's immortality. His instinctual and unpredictable fighting style, along with his primitive cries and chest beating, ties him to Wukong's initial unrefined style when influenced purely by his ego or monkey mind. Something even more apparent in the anime in which Shioya Kozo's performance has his cries sound much like those of a chimpanzee. And the desire to prove his superiority shared with all of Boo's forms being much like Wukong and his self-proclaimed title of the Great Sage Equal to Heaven. It's for these reasons, and more that I've gone into prior, that Goku taking on Pure Boo works perfectly for the opening of the manga's climactic battle. Furthermore, Goku faces the least controllable Boo in and incapable of defeating him due to a form that's essentially a mutated overload of Super Saiyan Ki, with it being no coincidence that both characters to attain it in the main series do so through conditions unnatural to the mortal realm. It's also worth noting that there's some parallels between Boo's relationship to Bibidi and Babidi, and Sun Wukong's to Tan Sanzan, as both masters of their respective demons control them through some threat to their being, with Wukong's crown and both Madoshi being able to seal Boo away, though their reason to control the demon being far different. This also leads into what I've said before of Gohan's arrogance remain the flaw of his, and Gotenks' lack of experience to get serious at the right time, leading to Goku having to take up the burden of stopping Boo, due to having the most balanced mindset towards what's necessary to protect what he values. Babidi not deviating or improving upon Bibidi's plans at all leads to his downfall, and Boo's ki thriving to extents that wouldn't have occurred had he remained Babidi's tool. It's also probably worth going over the whole aspect of Boo's different forms, and his reversion to the diminutive Pure Boo when Good Boo was removed, as opposed to the grey pure evil Boo, which either confuses some or has them claiming it to be a plot hole. The reason why is pretty obvious when looking at the circumstances of both, with one being the natural Bunrei, much as that of Kami and Piccolo Daimao becoming separate personalities, as I've gone over before, performed when Boo's good or Buddha nature was still dominant, whereas the good Boo being removed by Vegeta was an unnatural fission when Boo's evil self was in control. These changes in whether his good or evil nature is dominant shows him as an inherently unbalanced martial artist, and makes the character with the most balanced mindset towards the ethics of Shugyo and his own nature within the original manga, the perfect opponent for him. These ties of a perfect foil go into the final part of the fight, with the Genki Dama not only being the most fitting way to conclude things with it being the ultimate team effort, but great irony with Babidi's plan of using the energy of Earthlings and any other mortals he could find to revive Boo, and his telepathic communication being reversed in telepathy instructing those of Earth and the entire universe to willingly give their Genki to destroy Boo. I've talked before of Goku's thoughts and lack of fulfillment in destroying Pure Boo with the Super Genki Dama, and this is due to Boo's nature of fighting purely on his own, reflecting Goku's motivations, as well as contrasting with other antagonists in the manga. Though Evil Boo was much like Cell in relying on others to become stronger, the same isn't the case for Pure Boo, and even Cell's revived self was the result of his meticulous design. As naturally talented as Frieza was, Boo displayed great Ushin in enlightening instantly to techniques far more complex than those Goku enlightened to in similar time spans. Majin Boo represents a naturally greater Goku, only limited by his circumstances not allowing any of his forms to find a balance to fully cultivate his ki to its full potential, and why his reincarnation into someone Goku could teach to utilize his latent ability would not only lead to Goku's ultimate opponent, but his true successor. This made not only Dende referring to Majin Buu as Goku's most formidable enemy in the Super Manga, despite him having faced nigh infinitely stronger foes since, such as the revived Frieza or Zamasu, not seem out of place. But why Oob reuniting with Good Boo in GT was an excellent idea to bring out the most cultivated stage of Boo's Budo journey and Buddha nature, even if the execution was disappointing at best. It's with this that we conclude why Majin Buu was a fitting final antagonist for the Dragon Ball manga, of which is ultimately the story of Goku's martial arts journey, by being an excellent reflection of Goku. Thank you for watching until the end. If wanting to see what I've said of the Buu arc prior and more, there's a playlist of my Dragon Ball analyses here. Until the next one, it would mean a lot if you were to like, subscribe and comment. Maybe leaving an idea you would like to see covered in a future video.